What he didn't tell you is I didn't want to do it. I can stand in front of anything and dance and sing and do whatever, but to tell my own story is not my cup of tea. So, I always feel like when someone talks about a testimony that they're talking about their salvation story, and so growing up at Grace Baptist Church, pastor's kid, I have the most boring salvation story, except that God saved me. So really my testimony isn't my salvation story at all. It's God's grace in my life since then. And a big part of that is growing up here. I was kind of born on a Sunday and showed up here the next Sunday. And I've been here, except for the 2 years I was out of state, I've been here. So growing up a GBC kid, but also a pastor's kid, is a unique experience. In fact, I was actually talking with another pastor just this last weekend, asking what life is like for his son. And it's different than the way I grew up, and I'm actually glad for that. I don't know if it was the size of our church, that it was still growing so much, up into the size it is now. I didn't slip into anonymity. My family was not anonymous in any way. We were very public. We were very much exposed, very much the glass house sort of a thing. And there are a lot of pluses and minuses that come with that. Major pluses is I can't imagine life without my family, which is Grace Baptist. The way Grace has loved on me and cared for me and raised me is unique. It's a blessing, it's a beautiful thing. But also having Grace Baptist be my family means Grace Baptist has hurt me and has judged me and has thought ill of me. And what is so good is that God has been so good to protect my heart from that. I am not in any way angry, and I'm genuinely not hurt. Although there have been moments where I really was. There's nothing like being a high school student and overhearing somebody speak about you. But God is so good to really not allow me to hold that against anybody else and not even hold it in my own heart. And to see less maybe what someone's coming at me, but more see maybe their own heart and be, at least I now see it now, as an adult, be more grieved over maybe somebody else's situation, that they would feel the need to say those things. It's just an interesting thing growing up here, and it's not a bad thing. I'm not trying to put it out. I've just got like random notes, so you're hearing my rambling mostly. But it just makes me want to encourage you to pray hard for your pastors and for their families, because the things that I have watched this man walk into the house so many times carrying a burden that he cannot share. I have been privy to conversations so many times over the years that I have no right to share with anybody else. It's a gift to be able to be a part of that, but there is so much burden that is placed on your pastors that is unique in their situation and just drives me to want to pray harder for them. And it's easy for me even to start nitpicking and say, well, I wish this was better, and I wish this was like this, and I wish this happened. And then I go, oh, wait, let me check my heart. Let me see where my sin is in this. Why am I reacting this way? And is there a way that I can be praying specifically for that ministry, for that person, for that pastor? And that's just me walking all of these years and seeing so many different relationships happen here. I have seen some of the most beautiful relationships happen here on this campus, and the other one. But I have seen people love each other in a way that you can't get outside of a church. I don't know how people live without Christ, because I can't fathom doing things without these relationships. I can't fathom even walking any part of my life. I can't do COVID without you guys, you know? It's just, God is so good in his desire to have the church set up the way that it is, and to see the amount of times over the years and very closely that the church has succeeded beautifully, that it just really shows Christ. And I have been privy to so much of that. Being a PK here, you were a PK, right, James? I mean, how many churches have you hopped around to?
A lot.
I don't know any other pastor's kid who's grown up in the same church. It's a rare thing, and it's a gift as well that I've been able to be here for all my 35 years. So you've probably seen I've done music for forever. Wonderful memories of singing on Christmas Eve since I was knee-high to a piano stool, all the way up. And then after college, I had the privilege to go work and do a couple of contracts with Disney in Japan and sing with them. And I'm not sure I was ever super naive of things, but that just rips everything right off. I was placed in scenarios with coworkers that I didn't want to be in. And I had to figure out how to live my life out well when I was the only one of me. I praise the Lord, my second contract I was there, within a few days I heard rumor of a Bible study in my apartment complex. So I just rolled up to it that night and said, hi, I'm new and I heard there's a Bible study and I'm really excited about it. And one of the girls in there ended up being one of my bridesmaids. Just God was so gracious in even those little moments to say, here's a group of believers and you didn't even know they were going to be here. Because it is difficult to be the only one of you. And I was very far away from anybody else. And just constantly strengthening me in little ways like that God has been good. Thinking of other things here, looking at my little paper. So you guys, most of you probably know, I met my husband Michael, and in 2014 we had Kate, in 2015 we had Claire, and in 2016 we up and moved to Washington, which, looking back on that, doing it with a 1-year-old and an 8-month-old is insanity. But we moved to Washington for a new job for my husband, and we bought a house, which was a major fixer-upper, and so we did massive remodel, and my husband's getting to know this new job, and we're looking for a church, and the disappointing thing was, it was probably only about 2 months into it that we realized that the owner of the company had massively misrepresented himself, and I got to watch my husband come home every single day crushed more and more and more. Well, we were still fighting to find a church family and doing a remodel. 3 months in, we did find a beautiful church with wonderful people, and they're still super near to my heart. In fact, one of the girls from there, I do a FaceTime with her every single Wednesday morning. She was also insane and had children back to back, so we bonded very quickly. But we moved up there in March, and in October, on my birthday, my husband had to quit his job. He couldn't do it anymore. And so he quit. I started working. His boss begged for him back, and right before Christmas, he let him go. And so then we're in this, we now don't have a job. We're in a state that is far away from our support system. We're working on building that, but we don't have a place to be right now. And somehow in conversation with my grandmother, it came up that we could move in with them in Northern California. And my grandfather was fighting Alzheimer's, and my grandmother started to need a little bit of help. And so we rented our house, and we moved to Northern California. And we ended up living there for a year. And I was a full-time caregiver for my grandparents. And it got to a point where I was no longer able to do the care. I had a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 90-year-old, and a 91-year-old. And I think it was on a Wednesday, I said, we have to go. And we were down here on a Saturday, moving in with my parents for a few days, and we hopped around a little bit until Becky Ashlock opened up her home to us and let us stay with her family for multiple months. And it's just the Grace family just instantly going, we got you. So my husband was able to get a job back. We were able to get a place to rent, and then we gratefully got to purchase the home that we are in now. So all of this just kind of, every year we're doing something major, and then we decided to build a rental unit into the backyard as a kind of co-job with my dad. And so that finished in 2019, and then we had a whole pandemic, which turned into me turning into a homeschool mom. And I'm praising the Lord, I love it, but that's a new challenge. And then you guys know that as of this year, we have actually invited my grandmother to move back in with us. My grandfather passed away about 1.5 years ago. And so now we're kind of starting a new journey with that and having her live with us again. And I'm thankful 3 weeks in, and really, it's been a really positive thing. It's been really, really good for her, and it's really great for our family. And no negatives yet, but I know the challenges are coming, but I think we were much more prepared this go around and ready for this relationship. And you guys know, based on the prayer list, big prayer there is for her salvation. Already, God put me in a conversation with her this week, so keep praying. And a bigger thing that I can't even share, it's the one that's just that vague one on the prayer list. God's not done writing my testimony, and He's not done with the challenges. And at the moment, I can say we're probably in the middle of the biggest challenge I've experienced yet. Not even challenge, just deep pain, to be honest. And one of the hard things about not even being able to share it with everybody, because we have to be careful. And it's a tough one because I want to share it, but I need to be careful. But God is, He's got me in a position I don't want to be in. And He has me having conversations I couldn't possibly have ever dreamt I would have. And all I can do is praise the Lord for the wisdom that He gives me when those conversations happen, because I walk away going, that was not me. I did not have those words. And continually, God has given me words that aren't my wisdom in any way, because I don't have it. But that's where I'm at. And so my testimony continues, and prayerfully my testimony is one that shares Christ in the mud in these situations. So that's me.
I like that. Testimonies are still unraveling, aren't they? Don't ever feel like it's over. Thank you, Elissa. I appreciate that greatly. And it's been really fun watching you grow up. When I came here in '94, how old were you? Would have been at that point? 9 years old. And Stephen was 7. And you could, just walk down any hallway and open a door, and there they'd be.
Probably on
I'm usually on rollerblades, yeah. But they were around. It was fun. But as you can imagine, just to watch somebody grow into their giftedness, to grow into their talent, to grow into that, has been, as she said, it's really been a delight for the church. Because it's so easy to own when you see somebody grow up in the church, and then you see that flourish, that kind of that rosebud just open up, and you go, oh my goodness, that's beautiful. So it's been a delight in that sense, but thank you. And it is hard to share, right? Some of you I know are praying like crazy. I'm not going to call you. I know you are, but I'm going to call you. Eventually I will call you. Because I just think it's so important for us to know you. And it doesn't mean you have to have a tremendous story. I can't tell you how many of you, when I've asked you, say, well, I don't really have much of a testimony. Really? You can't sell God short, all right? The miracle of anyone believing is a miracle. And if it's a miracle, it's something to shout about. So I'm grateful for all of you to be able to be a part of that. Whether they're suffering like Amy and Richard have been dealing with, whether it's the kind of suffering that Elissa was talking about there at the end, even though you don't know, can you feel that it's suffering? Yeah, you can. We just need to pray, knowing that the purposefulness of that comes through faith, comes through Christ. And I want to do that because, there are people who would love to be able to say to Christ, or the same words that he used to his Father, right? If it's possible, would you just take this from me? Right? And I know that Wendy Cobra would love to pray that, and probably has. I know that Kathy and Steve Voss have been praying that. And it's there. I know that Caroline's husband, Steve, it's always part of that. And yet, when I see people go through it, oftentimes I often hear, much like the words of Gary Cataldi, those of you who knew Gary, he was the general contractor on this church. I thank God that he gave me this cancer that eventually took his life. So there's something to that suffering, something to understanding something of God that you didn't really realize before, whether it's peace with him or just his love, that awesome love for us, that I hope we can pray for.